Hey everyone, it's time again to recap the latest news from the solar PV industry, compiled by the American Solar Energy Society. I'm Jay Warmke with SolarPVTraining.com, and this is what's happening in the wonderful world of solar for the week of March 1st. In January, President Trump's Department of Energy announced that it's canceling or de-obligating $83 billion of a total $104 billion in loan commitments made for wind and solar projects, leaving approximately $19 billion in federal loans for all renewable energy projects nationwide. In contrast, this week, the same DOE announced that it will loan $26.5 billion to Georgia Power and Alabama Power, both subsidiaries of the Southern Company. Georgia Power customers have seen their rates increase by over 40% during the past 2 years. One reason for this increase often cited is the $36 billion price tag for two recently completed nuclear reactors that opened at their Vogtle power plant. These increases came despite a 2024 FERC analysis that found Georgia Power was the most profitable utility in the nation, earning over $92 in net operating income or profits per customer per month. In August 2025, the Department of Treasury and the Internal Revenue Service released new guidelines related to safe harboring solar projects for the investment tax credit, or the ITC. Safe harboring allows companies to demonstrate a good faith effort at starting a solar project in order to secure the applicable tax credits for that particular year. Utility scale solar projects could once use a 5% safe harbor rule that required that the project developer spend at least 5% of the project's costs before a certain date. Now, in August of last year, the federal government changed this policy to a physical work test. Projects larger than 1.5 megawatts must have all the racks installed at the site by July 4th, 2026 in order to qualify for the ITC. This was an abrupt rule change, according to U.S. Senators Catherine Cortez Masto of Nevada, Chuck Schumer of New York, and Ron Wyden of Oregon. The trio introduced a resolution under the Congressional Review Act this month to overturn the IRS's physical work test rule, as it, quote, makes it harder for wind and solar energy companies to claim vital tax credits. The Department of Commerce has recently released its preliminary countervailing duty amounts in an investigation of solar cells imported from India, Indonesia, and Laos. Panels from India will face a 125% tariff increase. Indonesia's panels will face tariffs of 104%, and Laos will receive about an 80% tariff rate. Countervailing duties are placed on imports to cancel out subsidies that are given to producers in and by the exporting country. A group of U.S. panel manufacturers filed a complaint with the Department of Commerce alleging that solar panel manufacturers had relocated their operations to India, Indonesia, and Laos to avoid tariffs that had been placed on imports from Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam. And it had been found earlier that Chinese manufacturers had relocated their operations to Cambodia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam to avoid tariffs that had been placed on panels manufactured in China. Well, in 2025, it's estimated that roughly 50% of the solar modules installed in the U.S. were imported, the vast majority of these from Southeast Asia. And on the campaign trail in 2024, President Donald Trump made a bold pledge. He claimed that if elected, he would cut Americans' energy bills in half in his first year in office. On October 10th, 2024, he told the Detroit Economic Club that, quote, within 1 year, you're going to have your electric bills and energy bills and your gasoline for your cars is going to be 50% cheaper than it is right now. So how well has he performed on this very specific campaign promise? 1 year later, the price of gasoline at the pump is indeed down about 10% over a year ago. However, his promise to increase domestic oil production seems not to be faring as well. The number of active drilling rigs within the U.S. has dropped more than 6% year over year. The wholesale price of natural gas in the U.S. has risen approximately 26% during the past year, leading to increased residential heating costs, rising on average more than 50% during 2025. And nationwide, electricity prices, on average, increased about 11% in 2025. However, price increases in this sector appear to be accelerating. Utilities have requested more than $31 billion in rate increases so far this year, more than double the $15 billion amount that was requested last year. And that's the news from the solar industry for this week. We'll see you next week.